So this is an advanced tutorial on the Flame Boss 500. As you can see, I've got my pit set to 280 and it's holding at 280. You'll notice over here, I preheated the chamber when I first plugged everything in. We were at about 230 or so. And then I had the temp set for 265, which we hit. And then I bumped it to 280 because I didn't want it to overshoot real bad. So I bumped it up just a little bit. And then when it got to 270, I closed the top vent down, which allowed me to stay right about 280. So it's been holding steady, and I'm fixing to load it up with some briskets. I'm actually going to be cooking at 240, but I wanted it to be a little bit over because I know the weight of that brisket is going to drop the temperature, and then we'll pick it back up once I load the briskets. All right, so I've loaded the briskets, and as you can see, dropped it to exactly 240. Done this a few times, so dialed in exactly where I want. I changed my set temp from 280 to 240, as you can see right here, once I kind of saw where the smoker was going to stabilize. And now here's a step that I don't think a lot of people do, but this thing's been doing math ever since I plugged it in, and so it's been calculating to figure out how to run my smoker. But I've really thrown some curveballs. You close the top vent, I added a bunch of meat that was cold, and it'll run fine this way. It'll figure it out. But if you go down here, click Start New Cook, it's basically going to clear the memory of the controller and it's going to start fresh. And now it's at 240. It needs to stay at 240, and I'm going to get a lot more stable cook. Again, the Flame Boss works great. You can plug it in. You don't have to do any of this stuff, but just after using it for, hundreds of cooks, I've kind of tweaked the performance of it a little bit to make sure it does what I want it to. So I feel like I'm going to get a pretty solid straight line tonight while these briskets are cooking, and then we're going to check them in the morning and we'll see how the Flame Boss did. All right, so this is my brisket cook. You can see my line here overnight. I had the top vent closed a little too tight, so it was kind of hovering right below my set point, which is fine. I mean, you kind of have to know your smoker, but it was basically running between 236 and 238 all night, which is great with me. You see these little squiggles. I mean, those are 2-degree variations, better than what you would get, in your oven. And you can see here, this is when I checked the brisket. So my temperature dropped, but then it immediately stabilized within a minute when I closed the temperature. That's why I love these Humphrey smokers. And then you can follow the line a little bit here, and you'll see on the yellow line, this is obviously when I took the first brisket out, and then boom, we've got this jump right here. I just took 20 pounds of meat out, so it's going to change the airflow. It's going to change the density of the cook chamber. And so my temp's going to rise. But instead of fighting that, instead of letting the Flame Boss take, an hour or two to figure that out, I just changed my set temp. I bumped it up, 5 degrees, boom. And it's going to stabilize back in just like you can see here on this line. And then you follow it over a couple more hours, and that's when I took the second brisket out. Same thing, only now I've got an empty chamber. So my jump's going to be a little bit higher. But again, instead of letting the Flame Boss figure it out, I just solved the equation for it. I just changed the set point to a little bit higher because now I'm going to be using this for wrapped ribs. I'm pulling the ribs off the barrel and putting them in here, so I actually wanted it to be running hotter anyway, so I kind of planned my cook around that. And then, you can see after that it gets a little crazy. I've got batches of ribs going in and out for the rest of the day. But I just wanted you to kind of see how I tweaked the temperature on the Flame Boss to make it do what I wanted it to do. Boom, I pulled the brisket out, raise the set point just a little bit to get it to stabilize. Pulled the second brisket out, same thing. And it's going to go in here and it's going to settle in. So that's kind of how I use mine, especially when I'm cooking multiple things over a long period of time. Again, you can just use the Flame Boss, plug it in, and let it do its thing. But as you cook more with it, you can kind of figure out how it works and really make it tune into what you're wanting to do.